There's a tremendous amount of information in this video, and you don't have to watch it all. Simply use your time slider to go to the section that you need, and those sections are found in the description. I'd like to thank everyone who puts a picture or a schematic on the internet, because it makes all of this understandable for future generations who didn't grow up with these reels. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. All right, let's get right into it and take a look at some of these reels. These are some of the newer reels: Abu Garcia, Daiwa, Shimano, and you notice these are star drag types. Now when we start taking apart these star drags, I want you to think of a star drag as nothing more than a spinning reel. Just mentally flip your reel up that way. Here you have your star drag. On a spinning reel, we take this off, spool off. Now this is our drag system right in here. Our last drag washer is actually this little phenolic block right there that it's riding up against. And as we, of course, we turn, you all know this, as we turn that, we tighten these series of spacers in here, and they tighten on the shaft and allow that fish to run, not break our line. Same with the star drag. Now this is a Mitchell. Same with the star drag, and whether the star drag is where it's located is immaterial. Okay, you'll notice here it's slightly offset from the level wind. Well, it's simply turning a gear in here and a gear to turn the spool. Shakespeare in the old series did it different. They had their star drag was running the level wind, and then a gear turns the spool. So no matter where this is located or how big this housing is, usually when we have a big housing, that's simply because we have a bigger gear here to turn the spool faster. So our spool ratio, our gear ratio, is faster on that reel. That's all that's about. These locks, on some of the newer reels, you'll see these enormous pieces of metal. That's all it is a piece of metal. Does the same thing as this little thingy here. So no matter, and in some cases I've seen thousands of dollars paid for looks, when what we should be concentrating on is what's inside this reel. Will it land a big fish or will it not? That's the key. Now this is a Ambassadeur series USA 500 made in Sweden. How about that? It's up to you to decide what you think will stop a fish. Comes apart easy. All right. Well bushed to me. Brass gear. I like that. Brass. Now, whenever you have a clicker, all you have is an idler to idle this shaft so it'll turn free to cast it. In some of the old series, it's just direct drive and you just cast it. That's the only difference with that. Some would argue, maybe the old guys would argue, that the more, see all the springs and things it takes to run that, the more parts we have, the more opportunity we give a fish to get off. Now, to overhaul all of this, all we got to do is pull this little plate off. I'm not going to do that right now. We're just looking at the reel, trying to decide if this is something we want to own. Let's take a look at the other side here. And we have plastic gears. Driving the level wind from the spool. See how that works. Okay, let's take a look at another one, see what we find. Daiwa Millionaire. I want to thank Larry Drown for providing a lot of this stuff. This is some of these are his father's stuff, his stuff, my stuff is in here, and my grandfather's older reels. Okay, what do we got? Obviously we've got another gear, as we said, running this. Okay, I can't pop that off at the moment, but back here there's a gear simply running this spool shaft. Let's pull the spool out. Now most people don't, no, there's a reason why you're going to lose a big fish right there. This is some old line that has wrapped around this gear. Let's see. And that's not leader. It's just old line. In fact, it might be the reason this reel was put away. Okay, put that down there. We've got a plastic gear in here, and there's some more of that stuff wrapped around there. And can you see it in there? All right. At stake, you've got a world record on the line. You've got the possibility of bass boats for free for life. It's going to be you that's making all the speeches at the Bass Pro Shops and all that stuff, and pop, the line just snapped, and there went your trophy, just because of that little thing in a plastic gear. Okay. You should be familiar enough with just these two reels that we've taken apart, and I put back together this one real quick, to pop this off, pop your spool out, and take a look at your internal guts and see what you got on your reel and make some decisions. Now, this is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And these range all the way up to, well, $1,000, $550, I think, is the price for the larger ones. Let's just take a look what we got. And I'm kind of taking normally we'd take all of this apart. We just want to take a quickie. Spool came out. Oh, okay. Excuse me. And these are, it's got a centrifugal assembly here for adjusting your backlash. And the way this works, let's see, there's a collar in here that these are up against. And this collar is going to, let me take and adjust one of these. All right, that one is out. When it's out, it's on because it's riding against that collar and it's giving, here's one you can see. So I can get that off. Pop that up. Come on. Pop that out. All right, now, see this collar in here? That's going to be riding against that and giving us some drag to adjust our, tension for backlash. The old, you can look at this different. This is just another way for a little piece of line or whatever else to get in here and jam that up. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it as a good system that you can't get to, though. I would like the other system is on the side to adjust your backlash, and you can do this anytime as a little magnetic piece, and you do that back and forth. And with the magnetic throw on your spool, it gives it more magnetism, and that adjusts your backlash. I like that a lot better than something internal that I can't get to readily. Anyway, that's me. Now what have we got? Oh, you see here on the end, oh, there's two of them. Let me spin that. You got a bunch of plastic on the inside here. Now this piece here, if you see Bakelite, which is a plasticine type thing, but the housing is not so bad because it's just holding pieces. But when we come to gears, and we get something in there, or we get a fast fish running, bad things can happen to us. No matter how expensive this is, it doesn't matter. You want to know that you've got good parts inside of that reel. So internally we got one, at least two pieces. But everything else is metal. Boy, it's just beautiful, isn't it? The fish doesn't care, but okay, well, enough of that. All right, probably one of the most innovative of the reels to come along that set all kinds of distance records, and that's a genuine ruby you're looking at there, both sides, was the Head & Pal jeweled, as you see. And what made it innovative, if you can get your hands on one of these, and it's easy. I mean, these are things that are just sitting at every flea market. You could probably buy 20 to 1 over anything new. See that? Just comes right out. There's your gears brass. And this thing will cast a mile. Let's pull that right out. Easy peasy. Lube these right up with your grease, and you're ready to go. Nice and clean. Looks really, really good. All right, we're fixing to take apart some reels and service star drags, both old and new. And before we begin that, so you can watch anybody's overhaul video and it'll make sense to you on your reel or any reel, let's just go over a few basics before we begin. When we take apart the star drag on any reel, we're going to pull this cap, okay? And on one side we're going to see the bridge. That's the piece that this goes into right here, and it lies right in here. On the other side is the gearing to run the spool. The way the star drag works is we have a set of washers here, and as we tighten the drag down, we're going to tighten those washers on this shaft, our drive shaft, and as we tighten it down, we're going to set the fish up to where it's going to have to work against our washers to run line off the spool. Either it can or it can't. We can crank that down all the way to where it's simply going to break the line. I usually set my drag to 50% of the line strength. Connie and I were out catching grouper with these things, and we have to move them 5 feet initially off of their hole or we're done. We're going to lose. So a tournament fisherman would typically set it at 25% of the line strength, and I'll explain how you do that later. Now the fiber washers, these can be either leather, they can simply be felt. You'll see a variety of combinations in here, and you can replace whatever is in here with the newest thing on the market, which is carbon washers, simply by ordering a sheet of carbon if you can't find the exact thing, and cutting out your washers. Easy to do. They're usually set in this kind of an arrangement. Fiber, then you're going to have your gear, metal, fiber, metal, fiber, metal, fiber, metal, fiber, or metal, carbon, metal, carbon. Usually in that kind of an order. But whatever comes out is what you're going to put in. What you don't want to get is two felt washers together, because they'll clump up on you and tighten this up as the fish is running out, and pop goes your line. Alright, this piece here is called a bridge, nothing but a casting, that's all that is. The sleeve that your star drag goes onto, and your handle is nothing but the bridge sleeve. Alright, a 5 drag set works the same way. Now on these small freshwater reels, what I'm going to expect to see usually is a 1 washer setup, and we'll see here in just a minute what we've got. When you look at the other parts of your reel or somebody else's overhaul video, they're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that you might not have heard of. A dog. That's simply a piece that falls into a gear and either stops the gear or allows it to free spin. That's all that is. A gear, usually we like to see brass and stainless, because the softer material wears the harder material. So if we put brass and stainless, we've got something that virtually never wears out right here in the stainless. And so we have a system that'll work year after year after year. That's why you see a lot of these old pins still on charter boats, the old ocean cities. The founder of Penn got his, learned at Ocean City, and a lot of the parts totally interchangeable. The fiber washers and all that. So you can buy an Ocean City for practically nothing, and that thing will work for the next 100 years. A yoke. Okay, a yoke is used to contain something, and we put that down, screw it in, and it's strong, much stronger than a clip. You'll even see gears yoked in these reels. Sometimes you'll hear a bakelite, and sometimes even the bridges will be bakelite. A bridge or a bakelite is simply a synthetic plastic. It was developed in 1907. They're very strong. They're light, and they're totally solvent resistant. Anything I've ever hit them with, they're just impervious to it. When you get your reel apart, whatever it is you've got, and if you see discoloration on the bridge, if it's made out of metal, it may be because either it got very hot or it's pot metal. Pot metal is a very cheap metal. It's just a conglomeration of literally everything thrown in the pot. And it's brittle, not much strength to it. It's a bad sign if you see discolored metal. You know, it'll be a bluish color here, it'll be bronze over here. So that's something that you want to look out for, because the fish is no respecter of what the reel looks like on the outside. It can be totally beautiful. All they care about is what's inside. All right, let's take a look at this service reel. Let's give you an idea of the size. This was my father's saltwater grouper digger, and it's just like the 45 of the real world. I mean, if you can overhaul this now, you can overhaul any of the Ocean Cities, any of the pins up to any non-electric pin you can handle, because they're same principles. This is just a cap, although when you have a ball insert like that, it's for oil. Okay, let's pull that off. There's our first drag washer. It's curved. Let's see if I can. I always want to pull those off for some reason instead of all right, I'm going to keep everything pretty much in line here. So we just have one curved washer on a spacer, and inside we have a brass washer. Alright, virtually all the schematics for all the older reels, Shakespeare, Penn, Ocean City, what have you, are all online now, and this is the original drag stack that we see. And we only have one washer left off of the original. My tip-off that I didn't have them all in here was when I touched this on the end of the shaft and it was loose. It shouldn't be loose. This little cap should be tight against the star drag, and it wasn't. I'll very quickly tell you why it was this way. This was his grouper getting reel, and he sure did it with that. He was a meat fisherman, as was my grandfather in the freshwater world. Just big fish after big fish after big fish. And here's how he used it. Okay, my dad was a heavyweight boxer, and it's 26 degrees outside. Now, I'm not going outside to get a rod. I'll just tell you how you imagine a rod going out. And you saw the big heavy cord on here. That's probably, I don't know, 400-pound test. It could be anything. But to say the least, it's stout. And he would lock his knees against the gunwale of the boat, like that. And then you've already seen he didn't really need a drag, because he locked this down all the way to where it is completely locked up. No drag whatsoever. And the second he got a bite, boom, he'd come up with it and try to move that fish grouper the magic 5 feet right off the bat. Because if you can move them 5 feet, you got them. If you don't, they probably got you. It's a good thing that you're seeing this. Obviously, I've been thrown a curveball on my dad's old reel here. Now, at his death in 1986, this was put in a drawer and, hadn't seen the light of day since, at least not much. But after seeing some of the newer stuff that we've just taken apart, I'm going to put it back in operation, because I do have the opportunity. I can't catch a world record here, but I can on stripers, but I can catch a lake record, which is over 36 pounds. my options are I can buy another reel online. You can get them for nothing. I think, I just casually looked at one, 13 bucks. Get one at the flea market. They made millions of these. Or I can order carbon washers and drop those in there and bring this up to a new standard. Or I can kind of do my own thing, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I looked at some copper washers, and that'll fit right down on the shaft. So if I take that, stack that, and I have copper, stainless on that side, copper, and I put the star drag on. That'll work, okay. And just so you know, this is not a detailed overhaul manual for any reel. It's get you familiar with all of them and make you unafraid of them. I'm also thinking about going down to the hardware store and getting some very thin brass washers, because when I put this on, I've got just a few threads showing, and that makes me a little uncomfortable. All right, I've laid the screws out here, just like I said, and let's see if we can get this off. I took this bearing cap off. Looks like a sealed, is that a sealed bearing? No, that's a bush bearing in there, which is fine. All right. Let me just look at that one more time. Yeah, that's a bush brass bearing, which is good. Okay, all metal. Actually, this is another shock, is that after all those years in the drawer, the grease, it's still greased. Huh. Which is good. Okay, so what we have, we pull this off. This is our bridge, all metal, and this drive gear here is going to drive our level wind right there. You see that? Very stout stuff. I trust that to land a big fish any day. Now let's pull this. Am I going to get in trouble here? Nope. Another bush bearing on the other side. Simple. I like it. That's your clicker right here. That's all that's doing. It locks it in here with the clicker deal. All right. Now that we've got it apart, let's take a look at what we're looking at here, so to speak. Now, and I keep a sock around for a cleaner. I simply use an electronic cleaner. Doesn't use any, doesn't leave any residue. And that's what we want. And then I'll come back in and re-grease these gears. I'll put a dab of grease right here in the bearing and put it all back together. Okay. This is brass. It may look like some other metal. Let me give it a spray here. That's actually, that blue stuff is actually the old grease that I'm betting my father put in there years ago. Okay, these are brass gears, stainless cap. And see, that looks like rust. That's actually not going to be rust. Let's see if I can get that out. What that is old oil where they've oiled it. And I think you can see already how easy it is to bring one of these things back to where it's going to be just like new inside. All right, so we're going to take our spool out, and you can find this quality today in certain reels from certain manufacturers. but you know you're going to pay through the nose for it. The ones I've seen to get this kind of quality, you're up in the $1,000 range. Certainly for the larger expanded, you know, the Ocean City type stuff, it can get quite pricey indeed. Well, I'm going to put this back together, and you'll see it in another video out on the lake fishing, and we'll try to set a record with it and stripers. Good luck with your fishing.